Welcome to That Voice Podcast. I'm your host, Sally Prosser. If you want to speak with style, sass, and soul so you can love your voice and land your message, you're in the right place. Let's hit it. Welcome back to That Voice Podcast. I am genuinely excited to finally bring you today's guest. We recorded this episode before I even released my book, Voice Print, which I really hope you have bought, read, and reviewed. It is now out as an audio book on both Spotify and Audible. Finally, it's on Audible. There's the Kindle version, the paperback version, and of course the beautiful Voice Print Codes Oracle cards. They're on Amazon if you're in Australia or New Zealand. If you're international, then get in touch with me and I'll share you the link because I'll package it from my place to send to you. Of course, you can't print on demand the beautiful cards. Now, this episode with the queen of PR and all-round fabulous energy of a human, I'm talking about Heidi Anderson. So this episode was supposed to come out last year, but then I gave my book Voice Print to Oprah Winfrey and wanted to share the story of how I manifested that incredible moment. So Heidi got bumped. And perhaps having the PR-related episode in that holding spot was part of the manifesting of giving the book to Oprah. Heidi Anderson is someone I admire so much. She has almost 20 years experience in the media, including reality TV and perhaps the most challenging gig in media, live radio. She was one of the first Australian media personalities to speak openly about anxiety live on air. It was a raw, vulnerable moment back before the word vulnerable was even a hot topic, back before Brené Brown. So that moment she shared, it went viral to more than 2 million people and changed everything. Heidi Anderson is the author of Drunk on Confidence. What a great name for a book. And her program is called Pitch Like a Publicist. Heidi and I really get each other because I'm also former media and used to be in PR too. In this episode, we get into why you should pitch to the media, how you go about it logistically, and more so how you overcome the mindset challenges of putting yourself out there and getting your beautiful voice in the media. Heidi Anderson, welcome to That Voice Podcast. Great to have you here with your background. I love it. It's a neon pink sign that says get naked.
Mate, us two are a handful this morning. I just threw my microphone as you were speaking. My background does say get naked. And before we started talking, you were telling me about a time that you got naked in Hobart and then ended up on the front page of a paper, which is perfect for this sign here.
Oh my gosh. And I write about this in my book, Voice Print. I write about it in terms of expression because there I was with Patrick, absolutely nude with thousands of other people on the beach in Hobart where you run in at sunrise to mark the winter solstice. And, you know, people are taking photos and things like that. It's very community, you know, it's like so liberating. But little did we know that a photographer from the state's premier newspaper, the Hobart Mercury, was also there with his lens and he papped our peaches. And the funniest thing is I got this message. We were back in Queensland. It was an Insta acquaintance that was like, Sal, I think you and your partner are on the front page of the Hobart Mercury. And sure enough, Patrick and I were there with a U shape with our arms forming the U in Mercury. Here I am trying to get my reputation out there as a voice and public speaking coach, but no, it's just my backside. Looking rather good, might I add. I wasn't too unhappy with that.
Well, I was going to say that with your book coming out, that should be part of your PR plan. Like revisit that front page photo. And that's a story for the book.
Yes, absolutely. You're so right.
Because it's such a big thing, right? To strip off. And when people start using their voice, you know, we get so scared. We think like, oh my God, we're feeling so exposed or we're feeling like we're naked. But you actually did literally get naked and it's a story in your book. So I think that could be some great PR that you could leverage.
I love it. A hot tip from the PR queen. So let's start there. This idea of feeling exposed.
Yes.
Do you find that is the main thing that holds women especially back from putting their voice out there, from putting themselves forward for media opportunities?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm sure you find it too with voice coaching and getting people to use their voice and share their stories. So for me, that's why I have the Get Naked sign, because when we start to use our voice, when we start to PR ourselves, when we start to put ourselves out there, we feel exposed, which means we kind of feel naked, that people can see us in our most vulnerable. And for me, like, honestly, Sal, the work that I've done from the girl that I used to be 12 years ago when I first started breakfast radio, it might even be a bit longer than that, 13 years ago, I confessed live on air that I hated myself. And for me, I felt so exposed, but it was the first time I used my voice. And since then, I have continued to strip off metaphorically, but also physically as well. And that's kind of all the layers, the judgment and everything that we all feel when we start to get into our most vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me more about that moment. So you're on air sharing something so vulnerable. What was the response like?
It was insane. So I got onto breakfast radio in my very first career, and I know you're a radio girl as well. And I got on there, and I hate that I labeled myself this, but I was the funny fat girl. And so I was the one on there that very confident. Well, everyone thought I was. Anyway, I was really confident. I was the one that was making all the jokes, and everything wasn't too serious. And then one day I decided to share quite openly about how I saw myself through someone else who'd shared their story over in the US. And this is when Facebook stories started, becoming quite viral. And the response was insane. Like, breakfast radio in a country town, no one wants to share a story. So we never got phone calls. So because they don't want to be exposed. This day that I spoke openly on air and said that I hated myself, the phone lines didn't stop ringing for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And using those words, I hate myself and I wish I was as confident as what people think that I am, was the change that I needed, and stepping into that vulnerability. I mean, vulnerability wasn't a huge word back then. Like, we hadn't discovered Brené Brown, but that's what it was. It was me stepping into that vulnerability. And from that moment, it changed my whole life. I connected with my listeners in a whole new way, but it also gave them permission to share what was truly going on with them as well.
Often the thing that we are most afraid of sharing is the very thing that a lot of people are afraid of sharing, and the very thing that creates connections.
Yes, yeah, and creates good PR stories as well. Because we see ourselves, right? It's the relatable stuff, working in newsrooms, like the stuff that we feel ashamed of or scared of is usually what, like you said, someone else is thinking or feeling. And so therefore it's going to make a great story because we're connecting in that moment and fully seeing each other. And I think that's what a lot of people are afraid, that their past is going to come out to haunt them if they do get PR and step into that next level of, speaking in the media or whatever. But I'm like, well, tell the story first on your social media, and then you've got control of the narrative, and you can see what happens, and then let's take it to the media.
Yeah, in PR we used to have a saying, define or be defined. So it's like, just because you don't put the story forward doesn't mean it will go away.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah, but that's true for our personal selves too, right? Because that moment on air, like, so much work around the way that I've seen myself. Like, I can sit here and tell you now, like, I have a lot of love for myself. Yes, I still have shit days. Do you know what I mean? I still have days where I judge myself. I still have days where I get in my head. But the work that I have done to get where I am, those stories aren't defining me anymore. They're not like, and look, they're all in my book, Drunk on Confidence, like, they're all in there. So I've said it first. And that's what I always used to say on breakfast radio. Like, oh God, I'd be so scared that I'm going to get, you were caught in the nude on the front page of the paper. See, I was always like, am I going to get caught snorting a line of cocaine or something like that from my London party days?
Thank God Facebook started when we were at uni.
I know. And see, Facebook started when I was living in London in my peak of my crazy.
I was in London as well when Facebook started. How funny. Yeah.
Oh my God. And did you work in PR there? It was
no,
wild.
I was just doing uni exchange over there.
I wouldn't have been able to live if I had to go to uni because, not being able to work, I needed the money for the cocaine. I needed the money for the partying, like all of the things. And I mean, it's much cheaper over there than it is in Australia. However, I was always scared and then I'm like, fuck, put it all out there. That's who I was. Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that I should think any less of me or anyone else should. It's just part of what I did and the experience that I had in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because you'd think, being naked on the front page, I You know what? I'm happy to talk about that. Own it.
Yeah.
What's been a lot harder and what's going to come out in my book, and I have spoken about probably a bit more timidly than I should have been. I went out with this guy who told me he was a doctor, not a doctor, lied about his whole life.
Oh,
Double life kind of thing, said it was because he was in international intelligence agencies, like next level. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I say that my book is called Voice Print. It could have been called The Spy Who Shagged Me. That was the book that I was going to write. And that's the story where I'm a bit more, oh gosh, should I, shouldn't I? And I have spoken about it. You're probably hearing this going, Sal, that's a story. You can PR the shit.
Oh, I'm like, girl, that's a mamma mia. We could get some PR for your book here, sister.
Yeah. Well, I share it because at the time this relationship was going on, I was reporting on national TV. So I was reporting by day and walking on eggshells and having no voice by night. And that's when I learned there's a huge difference between speaking with confidence and speaking your truth.
Oh, that just gave me chills.
Oh, yeah. That's the why of why I do what I do, because anyone can be like, this is how you project, this is how you gesture, but it's not the real voice inside you that needs to come out. And as you said, when I started sharing this story more and more, it's kind of scary in a way, but almost every woman has a similar story. Like everyone knows someone who's lied to that extent. And I remember at the time thinking, how could this happen to me? Oh my gosh, this is so crazy.
Yeah.
But when we share our stories that we feel ashamed about, shame to not survive the spoken word.
Yeah.
They're the things that resonate because everyone's going, yes, me too.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we kind of, for me, like, and I'm sure you felt the same, and you will probably when you get that, I don't want to say validation, but people come back to you and be like, oh, thanks, Sal, me too, me too. That's why I do everything that I do, because I felt so alone for so long, stuck in my head, hating myself, like, I had such severe social anxiety, but I was a party girl. So that was all like, drowned out through all the drugs and the drinking and everything, that when I had that moment on air, it was literally not just for the listeners, it was for me too. And we all had this me too moment, and it was so beautiful. And that's literally why I do everything that I do now. Like when I've printed my book, when I share the stories that I do on Shit Show Live Stories and, the work, it's literally so other people can feel less alone. That's what I do, like why I do what I do. So I love that story. Like I didn't know that about you.
Read the book. You're going to find out a lot of things.
Well, and this is the thing, isn't it? Because did you feel scared and worried about that kind of stuff? Like the people around you, what are they going to think?
Not really, because this recording will come out after the book is out, but we are recording before it is released. And I'm like, oh my gosh, people are going to read it. Everyone in my inner circle already knows. I think the validation came when I got them to read certain parts and they were like, yes, Sal, I remember that. Because sometimes you think, oh, is the way that I remember something, am I totally in my own world?
Yeah.
That was nice. And I know I've got their support, which is something also that you would come across with women being afraid to put their story forward because, oh, what will mum think? What will dad think? What will my sister think? And having that fear of what will they think? How do you help people move through that?
It's interesting because I still think I have moments like that. But the crazy thing is I didn't let anyone read my book before it, except for my friend Josh, who's sadly passed away now. And he was the one person that I trusted. Yeah. And he was an author, a fucking awesome legend. And because I was like, I didn't want anyone to stop my perspective. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't want their voice, because sometimes I listen to other people too much. I don't trust myself. And so I didn't. But I remember the one person I was afraid of was my husband's mum. And was it that I was trying to be perfect in some way for them, or like, do you know what I mean, that she might see me, or then they might use it against me of like who I was and what my thoughts are? That's like, those are all the things that came up for me. And I think that's the thing that I have to keep remembering when I coach people, because I'm always like, do the reps, like exposure therapy, right? Like keep exposing yourself. If you just continue to pitch every single week and share your story and keep putting it out there on social media and all that, you start to build confidence through your little acts of courage, right? But I have to remember that I still get those worries about like who's watching, who's not. Like, do you know what I mean? But as I always say to anyone, like, is your mum buying your program? No. Is your mum buying the paper? Great. Awesome. We wanted to buy the paper. If you get published in the paper, people ask me all the time, like, how do you not worry what people think? And we had to show up day in, day out. That was the job that we chose. So you build resilience over time. You're not going to build resilience to the trolls, to the comments, to what your family thinks, etc., if you don't step into sharing your story and using your voice.
Yeah,
right?
100%. Like, I think back on my times in regional news reporting, and it was basically hardcore exposure therapy because,
Yes.
walking down the streets of Rockhampton trying to get random people to talk to you with some silly question like a politician's overpaid or something, and then having people like scream at you, or, you spat out on the steps of the courthouse, you've had doors slammed in front of you for just doing your job. And I'm like, I can see like a lot of people haven't had that level of
Yeah, this resilience. Well, I had a reporter come here the other day because I spoke out about the health system here in WA after an experience.
Great story.
Yeah, well, he was like, I have to door knock all the time. And he goes, I'm amazed about the people that speak to me. And people would always say that when we worked in radio, like, how did you get that person to talk? And I said, it's not like you were manipulative, but I said, sometimes people want to use their voice because they want to share their perspective and they're given an opportunity. And so I'm all for it if that's what you want, but it's hardcore exposure therapy. Like, we've done the reps, and that's why we're able to be, I don't want to say it, but we're the experts, right? Like, in what certain areas that we choose.
Yeah. And the level of relentlessness and persistence, like I don't think there was ever a day where somebody agreed on the first phone call to do an interview.
Yeah.
Like, you're like calling and hoping that you get somebody on the 10th time.
I still sometimes feel rejection. Like, I've definitely got rejection issues from like when I was a child. Like, do you know what I mean? That have classic ADHD, if you want to label me that, just so the world understands me. Some days I'm like all for being my ADHD, and other days I'm like, no, I'm not that label today. But that rejection comes a lot with that, and I think that's what women experience. From my seeing and understanding, guys don't worry about rejection so much. They just go for it, and they'll go over and over and over again. Women cock block themselves with the thought of like, oh, they're going to say no. Oh, I'm annoying. You're not annoying the journalist. Like, they literally want you to slide into their DMs with a really great story because it makes their job easier, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And also, having been a journalist, this was like 10 years ago. I couldn't keep up with my inbox then. So imagine what it is like now. It's very easy to miss the email. So if you're listening, you're thinking, wow, this is a whole world that I have no idea about. Who do I even email? How do I even find who to pitch to?
Well, the way that I always really like to explain it to people is when you think about PR 101, most people think, oh, that's for celebrities, or that's for dodgy politicians. But I like to think of public relations as in relationships in the public. So you're building relationships in the public arena. So with an editor, with a journalist, with a radio host like myself, if it was back in the day. And you're starting to build those relationships, and they're just looking for connection too. They're just looking for stories as well. There's just a human on the other side of the email waiting for a really good story. Like you said, their inboxes are insane. They're overworked. They're underpaid. The industry, they are like burnt out motherfuckers. Like, I always say this, they're literally like, oh my God. So you can make their job easier. And as I always say to everyone, like, go buy the paper. If you want to be in the paper, go buy the paper for the next 2 weeks. It's really that simple. And then go find who's writing a story that you like. Or is there someone in the business section? And then follow them on Instagram. Maybe see if they're on LinkedIn. Their emails, their Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, are everywhere, because they want you to send them stories. Like, that's the whole point. Like, you're not annoying. You're annoying if you don't get to the point and you bury the lead. You're annoying if you don't follow up because they're going to miss a good story.
You're annoying if you kind of email them and then they ring and say, are you available for an interview? And they're like, oh no, not today. I'm like, well, why did you bloody send me that email today if you weren't even available?
Yes. But do you know what? So full exposure therapy for me the other day, speaking of the health system. So I was so upset with what happened I had my appendix out, and the service here was so bad. Like, you can go to my Instagram to get the full story, but basically I had to wait 3 days. They gaslit me, all of this stuff.
Yeah, terrible.
And when I sat in there was people waiting for 17 hours plus in these waiting rooms in an emergency department here in Joondalup. And this is normal. This is normal here. So but we hear this, but until you experience it. Anyway, I sent my mate Baz, who used to be on the radio here. He's now the head of the Liberal Party, which I didn't know. He's gunning for the Premier here. With politics aside, I don't give a shit about that. But he's telling the Premier he's doing such a shit job. So here's me on the Saturday night, a few months after my trauma. I've like released it, done the work, kind of healed myself. Like, I don't need to tell this story. I don't need to. And then Baz is gunning for the Premier, and I'm like, right, I'm going to send him an email. I can tell this story. As soon as the journalist called me, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm available today. So this is 2 weeks after, because in the moment I felt like I was really ready. And then I had this moment, Sal, and I think this really reminded me of what people thought, because I was going up against a health system, because I was going up against someone potentially shutting me down, telling me that I was wrong, telling me that I was doing something wrong. I really shut down and I got scared. And then I rang my husband and he said, remember why you were going to tell the story. Don't be afraid. Like, this is your story and this is what happened to you. And then I called the journalist back. I'm like, okay, you can come. And he got there at 12. We filmed it. And when I sat down with him afterwards, all of my shame and scared, like I was scared, like, is the hospital going to come out and publicly slam me? Like, and then logically, I'm like, the hospital doesn't give a fuck about me. They didn't care when I was there, so they don't care about me now. But I went into this spiral, and I think I wanted to share that because it doesn't matter how much work we've done if we're a professional broadcaster. We still have these moments where we get in our head and our shit comes up when we're using our voice.
Yeah. An element for me is like the stories I've shared. This is why it's a big thing with the book, because it's going out to a wider audience. On a podcast, you're like, well, I sort of know the people who are going to be listening to this podcast. On your social media, it's like, oh, well, it's my community. And it's sort of this idea that I can contain it a bit because I know the people there. But this is the answer to your question of why didn't I take the fake doctor story far and wide? It's because I'm like, it is going to go to an audience that's beyond what I understand and with people who are not going to be on my side as such.
Yes.
And am I going to be okay with that?
I see you. And like, that's what happened to me as well. And I think this is why I have to always remind myself when people are sharing their stories, because I'm like, it's so easy. We can get your PR tomorrow. We can do this. We can do that. But our shit's going to come up. And so it's like, how do we help ourselves through that? And are we prepared? But also, like, maybe it's time to let go of control of the steering wheel. You know what I mean? Like, because we can't control other people's opinions. And really, do we care about the trolls in the news.com articles? No, we care about you getting your story out there and then you using that as street cred on your own page. That's what I try and remind everyone of.
Yeah, like people who are afraid of getting negative comments on social media, you and I have both been there. And it's like when you get them, the sky doesn't fall in, your business grows and you carry on. So you're like, the very thing that you're afraid of is the very thing that takes you to that next level. Heidi, I want to just backtrack a little bit to repeat a really important point. If you want to be in a publication, start by consuming it. Like the amount of people who say they want to do a TEDx and they have never been to a TEDx event, or I want to be in Mamma Mia. Are you reading those Mamma Mia? Are you on the podcasts? Are you buying the paper? So it's a very simple way to start, by consuming the media you want to be in.
It's so simple. Yeah. And like, look, don't get me wrong. I forget sometimes too. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to be on this podcast. And then I'm like, okay, we'll go listen. And then I listen and then I go, okay, maybe they're not my people, or they don't actually do interviews. So do I think I'm going to be the first
one?
I think like they're going to just stop every, their whole format to change for me. So, and it really is that simple. The way that I teach it is I do the 20-20-20 formula. So 60 minutes a week, you do your PR, schedule it in. We should all schedule time in to do our content, all of those things. 20 minutes researching, 20 minutes writing, 20 minutes pitching. Like you can be your own publicist. 20 minutes of researching, you've bought all the papers, read onto Mamma Mia, listen to Sal's podcast for 10 minutes, or skim through, see all her episodes. But do your research, then start writing. And that's like putting together your pictures, putting together your story, practice the article writing that you're going to do. And then 20 minutes of pitching. You're guaranteed, if you lock that in 1 hour a week, like I promise you, within 6 weeks, you'll get PR. Whether you get rejected for PR, you will get something in the 6 weeks.
Okay. Yes. Noted. I need to write that down.
Yeah, can you write that down? You've got a book to PR.
Yes. 20-20-20.
Yeah. It's the 20-20-20 stolen from the 2020 cricket. No, just joking. Because I know you're coming to the cricket. No, because I nailed that system when I was doing Done For You. So I started doing PR last year. I created a whole agency and I realized it's not for me. I don't want to manage people. I just love coaching but I've nailed the system. And I was like, this is what everyone needs to know. They could just do it with 1 hour a week. So I'm so passionate about that.
Yeah. So then why do people need someone like you to help them with PR?
Well, that's why they would come in to the coaching program that I've got, Pitch Like a Publicist, because my brain is, and I'm trying to get more comfortable at this, but it's a genius brain of like understanding angles in the media, having worked there. That's what a lot of people cock block themselves with. So they could do the 20-20-20, right? And anyone can do it. It's so simple. My mum could do it, but I help them see their stories. And it's like building that momentum, accountability, contacts, all that kind of jazz that I'll help them with. Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked in the newsroom, there was this little Post-it note that said, "Who gives a shit?" And it was like a reminder of like when I had a story idea, who gives a shit about this? Like to people. Yeah. Because sometimes things that we care about are not things that the wider public or the audience might care about.
Yes.
And often it's just, tweaking the headline or a whole lot of things that, Heidi, I probably need to enlist your help with as well.
100%, girl. I literally wrote down here at the start of our chat, buy 5 copies of Sally's book.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. Well, I was doing PR for Urban Utilities, which is our water and sewerage company. And that was fantastic.
That would have been fun.
It was so great because it was an essential service, but also challenge accepted. Get shit stories, sewerage on the 6 p.m. news.
Yes.
And so you have to be really creative in how you do that, because even the best angle producers are like, oh, people are eating their dinner,
Yeah. And this is the thing, right? And like, so, and that doesn't mean it's a no. It's like, how do we tweak it? How do we change it? Like one of my girlfriends just launched her book last year and she wanted this news. She wanted news, right? She wanted 9 News, and we'd got her everywhere else. And they just kept saying no. And so it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here and take no for an answer. Like we're going to tweak it. We're going to keep. And so sometimes you really have to get in and you've got to rework these angles. And they're okay with that because, again, they're looking for stories too. Like, and so, they want to work with you. And I think we forget that. But yeah, I love that. Who gives a shit like of what your mum thinks? Who gives a shit what the negative comments are, and actually give a shit on the person on the other end of the line. Like if they're reading the paper or they're on TV or they're listening, like that's what you've got to care. That's the person you've got to care about. I can sit here and tell you everything, but like honestly, the truth is the way that I've built my self-confidence through the way that I've seen myself with body image, the way that I show up to pitch like a publicist when I also feel scared and worry about rejection too, is just honestly 1%. Just do 1% every day. And like, those little micro acts of courage are what I speak about. So yeah, you might not be the most confident person to pitch your story or to sell your story in, but the only way you're going to get good at it is if you make those little 1% changes. So I bang on about that in my talks and everything all the time, and just commit to like an hour a week and you'll see that it can actually make changes. And then maybe just come to my course as well, Pitch Like a Publicist, open now.
Amazing. I was going to say that part of it as well is being easy to find and easy to contact. So you're definitely that. How can people contact you or find you? What's the best way?
Oh, well, I definitely fucked it up with my Instagram. I put it _ after the A, which was definitely not smart and easy to find, Sal. So it's an @ Heidi Anderson. That's pretty much where I hang out.
Got it. Heidi Anderson, thank you so much for joining us on That Voice podcast.
Thanks, Sal.
Thanks for listening. If it resonated, please share on your socials and tag us at That Voice Podcast on Instagram. And for episode details, hot off the drop, straight to your inbox, leave your email at thatvoicepodcast.com.